And this time we have a science vessel, which is one of my absolute favourite ships in the whole franchise. And a lot of people who actually know Star Trek will know it's the Intrepid class starship. But on the game, it's the long-range science vessel, which I think is a bit, So, well, let's begin anyway. So, as well, USS Intrepid, but it's a long-range science vessel. This is the standard Tier 6 version. I need to save up to get the fleet version, so it will be missing a little of hull on here. But let's all get into it. So weapons-wise, I'm just keeping on the phasers. I'm a bit of a, when it comes to this ship, I quite like them looking natural. So to be honest, I've got just the phasers on here. I do have the Kelvin timeline photon torpedo, sorry. But that's just because it's better than the standard photons. So I've got two omnidirectionals. One of them is a trilithium-based omnidirectional, and then we just have a standard crafted one. So with the phaser omnidirectionals, they were a bit funny when they added this. So you do get the pulse phaser omnidirectional, but you can't equip it with a crafted, which is a bit of a shame really, because having 3 omnidirectionals would be absolutely fantastic. You can add on the kinetic cutting beam, but again, I'd like a little bit more of that weapon damage that you see there. I could, however, put an omnidirectional cutting beam on the back or on the front and get rid of the torpedo. But for now, I'm just going to keep it like this. So on the top, we have the prolonged engagement phaser, which was I believe it was a reward pack for doing a certain task, but it has some quite nice little effects on there, as you can see. Just slowly scroll down. You can obviously pause it if you want to read it all. There we go. And then we just have your standard phasers. Now, the abilities, I would prefer to go for penetration on all of them. However, I found it a bit more difficult to actually find phaser beams with penetration on them. Something today that I'm still actually looking for. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of different little beams here, but again, I'm just looking for that penetration. Oh, we got one there. Well, let's just quickly swap that in, shall we? So that we have those two with penetration. Obviously, the prolonged engagement phaser just comes as standard. The trilithium base also. The omnidirectional crafted, obviously I can keep crafting them until I get a one with penetration, but it's a lot of hassle and a lot of resources. This ship isn't, I've designed this ship not to be, I'm not going out there to destroy as many people as I can find with this ship. What I've built it for is just to have a nice, so to speak, relaxing game, to be honest. The shields are pretty strong on it already, even with the mastery and everything, but then adding the extra bonuses on there does help. So on tactical consoles wise, you don't get very many tactical console slots. Now during the program, during the episodes on the series of Star Trek Voyager, this ship was one of the most combative ships I've ever seen. It was flying into combat left, right and centre. So it's a bit of a shame they haven't created a tactical variant of this ship, because I would have snapped that up in a shot, because it would have been absolutely fantastic. I understand it's a science vessel, but an extra couple of little tactical slots would have been great. So they give me the critical chance and plus the phaser damage on there. So I've got this temporal console here, mainly because if you have a look at the first lot of settings, you'll have a 3% shield resistance, which is which is on the science vessel is a good thing. Now there are a lot stronger builds out there for science vessels, but this is just how I build mine, and this is just how it works in the PvE, in the advanced PvEs, and that's all I'm looking for really, to be honest. One thing I never do is I never do elite, not because I can't, but just because the people that we find that whenever we do elite don't seem to be able to do it, so we end up failing, and it's not on our part, unfortunately. So yeah, so we have the 3% shield resistance there. It gives you that nice critical severity and critical chance, but again you have a plus 25% maximum shield capacity, which is, you know, want as much shield as possible with a science vessel, because they do have that strength on the shield. They are a shield based ship. With your tactical it's weapon based, and with your engineering it's hull based. So now I have the 0-point energy conduit. To be honest, a lot of my builds actually have very similar devices on them, just because they're such great devices. You know, they're such great consoles that you can just put on there. So yeah, which does give the plus 2.2 critical chance, but that's the only reason I've got that on there. So this is a fleet console. I did have more, but I can't seem to find them. Decreases threat generation. So obviously you become a little bit less of a target towards enemies. But you then have a 37.5 Starship shield restoration. So obviously this is going to help increase the rate that your shields are healing. So, and also when receiving damage, 2.5% chance to restore 1,389.1 hull. Not a bad little console in itself, is it really? But again, it's the shield restoration that I was looking for there. So the assimilation module gives the critical chance to critical severity, that's fine. Gives a plus 5 weapon power setting, that's good. And then you get a plus 6.3 Starship hull regeneration. So that's the passive hull regeneration. So your restoration is a lot better ability to be going for. And then you have control expertise, but this ship is pretty nimble anyway, so it's pretty a decent little maneuver. And even when tracted, it seems to just plow through. Then we have the converter. And as you've noticed probably in all my videos, all these big long words, I just can't be bothered to pronounce. It's early in the morning and I just don't really want to pronounce them, to be honest. So I'm going to cut off on a lot of the big words and just see the ones that I like. So then we have the control expertise on this one as well, with a 37.5 flight turn rate, 1.2 critical chance and a 12.5 critical severity. Again, that's what I was looking for. You probably more than likely want to swap a couple of these critical chance and critical severity. The one with the lowest denominator would be the better one to swap out, just for perhaps some more of the fleet consoles here for the shields, which is going to be pretty decent. So on the engineering slots, I've got a secondary shield projector, because it gives a plus 20 Starship shield restoration. So again, it increases that shield healing, which is pretty nice, plus a 5% shield resistance, which, you know, will lower the damage that you receive. It's also got some nice little effects for your teammates as well, to extend your secondary shields. All team members gain a 12,000 secondary shields for 30 seconds, which, to be honest, a lot of shields are normally between 10,000 and 30,000, 10,000, 25,000, which is a pretty decent amount, especially if their shields aren't really that low anyway, but you know you're going to be going up against an enemy that has quite a high rating on them. Then I've got the Xenotech Resilience module. So it gives me a plus 16.7 all damage resistance rating, with a 37.5 Starship hull penetration, which works pretty well for if they've got a shield facing down and you've launched a kinetic weapon. So that works pretty nice. So then we have the enhanced neutronium alloy, which gives me the hull restoration, which again, if fidgets do go through your shield, you're going to have that hull healing there, with a 25 all damage resistance rating. So that gives off a pretty nice little effect. So going on to all your shield, deflator, impulse and warp. So I have the Elite Fleet Plasma Integrated Warp Core, but this one is integrated for taking 7.5 of your auxiliary power and putting it to your shield power as bonus power. So that gives that little bit of extra shield power on there. Obviously with your subsystems, they go up to a maximum of 125, but they can be knocked down, but they do also stack past 125, you just don't see it. So obviously the more you have past 125, if an enemy vessel was to drain your power on that subsystem, it would take it from that stacked bit first, and then from your 125 afterwards. So it gives a 66% power transfer rate, which is pretty decent, because obviously it will start to regenerate your power pretty quickly once they have been knocked offline. And then we have a 10% weapon power cost, always good no matter what starship you're running. A plus 10 resistance rating to subsystem power drain. So that will help, obviously, if they start to drain your subsystems, which would be your weapons, your shields, your auxiliary, and your engines. So you have a plus 20 warp core efficiency, increasing power levels when low. And then there's that 7.5% on the auxiliary to your shield power. The other bits, you do have a shield capacitor, which gives plus 420.9 shield regeneration, plus 15 shield power setting, and repairs offline shield systems. There we go, with plus a 50% recharge time on the slipstream, which is always pretty good, but adds also another 7.5 of your weapon power to your shields as another bonus power. So that's pretty decent, to be honest. I mean, let's face it, you're getting all these shield buffs right there. The engines, to be honest, all my ships have all my builds have these engines because they are the best engines you can ask for, to be honest. You know, a lot of the time you don't even need to be in slipstream, and you can outrun someone who is in slipstream just with standard warp through sector space. So for the strategic secondary deflector, I've got a plus 6 accuracy rating, which obviously helps to weapon targeting, and this thing does not have very many weapon slots. I think if they did do a tactical version, 2 more weapon slots, fore and aft, 1 more weapon slot fore and aft would be a great little addition, so it has 8 weapons instead of just 6. So you have your plus 15 shield restoration there, which again, that's helping with the shield healing over time. Starship hull capacity with 15. Then have a plus 10 starship shield restoration. No, I did read that right. Okay, got on there twice. Okay, another more restoration. Seems a bit strange. Then a plus 10 exotic particle generator, which obviously being a science vessel, you will benefit from using these exotic damaging. So then we have the next band underneath, so radiation damage over time to target of science buff and debuff abilities. And also you can see there, to a ranged target, deals 3,163 radiation damage, 50% shield penetration, which is always good. Ignore the shields, and that's always fantastic. And you then, the last bit, you have a sensor analysis, which gives improved sensor analysis, damage buff by 20%. So that's always decent. Ooh. Next we have the standard deflector array. So again, this was a fleet deflector here, which gives you a plus 20% starship shield restoration, again with the shields, 30% starship hull capacity, 10% starship weapon accuracy, 30 starship shield capacity, 10% plus 10 starship exotic particle generator, which again will help with your exotic damage. Then you have a plus 10 starship hull regeneration, and a plus 10 control expertise, which again will help when under control effects. So again, another fleet, this is the fleet shields. You do have many types, obviously just look out for the abilities at the top. So we have the maximum shield capacity, which gives a 5% absorption of the damage and a 5% bleed through. So the absorption is a very crucial point because it will absorb 5% of that damage, as said right there. That's what it says on the tin. So having a 10% bleed through, you only have a 5, and I believe the 10% bleed through, you do get a slightly higher maximum shield capacity, but you're using 5% of that damage as an absorption rather than having 10% of the bleed through, which I thought was a lot better deal. So then we have a 1365.7 shield regeneration every 6 seconds. So not one of the highest, but it is pretty decent still, especially for the shield capacity that it is. But then you have your reduces disruptor damage, plasma damage, and anti-proton damage, which is pretty good for most of the PvEs, to be honest, because a lot of them will just use them. Especially if you enjoy doing bits PvEs that involve the ball, or the whatever they are. Sorry, it's early in the morning and I'm completely out of my mind at the moment. I keep wanting to say Zenkathi when it's not Zenkathi. PvEs like the breach. You'll work that out yourself. So that's all of that there. So I've got the stats here. So this is just the basic space stock stats. So they will change as you go into your higher PvEs or into higher level 60 areas. So they will go up and down depending on what your effects are. So the accuracy rating is only 24.5, but you have a critical chance of 17.2, and you want a 20% critical chance hit. So with the abilities, I believe it does just go over 20%. Critical severity of 81.2, which I don't think is too bad for a science vessel. If this was a tactical vessel, I'd expect it to be a lot higher for both of them. So, on the defense part of it, let's just hide that away. So defense rating, obviously it's 11.33, but I'm standing still, as you can see, so it's not going to be doing me much favours. With that, obviously if you're standing still, it's going to be a lot lower. So as you can see, I've started moving again, and it's 71.33 is my defense rating, which is pretty decent, to be honest. It can be higher depending on how your consoles are built up, but this is absolutely fine. With a hull of 58,320, which doesn't seem very high, but again, for what I've got equipped, it's absolutely fine. As you can see, the shield capacity is only 18,360, but we can get that increased further, especially when going into combat mode. With a shield regeneration rate of 1,536.6, it's not bad. It's really not bad. So obviously you can see all your resistances here. So they're all 30% resistance, which I do get quite often if I ever share this build. A lot of people actually say it's pretty nice for the setup that I have, and I have been asked how I got it. But to be honest, all I've done is, obviously with my skill trees, or my captain skill trees, obviously it's just making sure that you have the right ones there. I mainly go for a damaged on my captain's skill trees, which I'm not going to go through in this video, because it's not really going to benefit the long range science vessel in any way, really. I have some science bits which will benefit, and I have engineerings which will benefit, but you can catch them on my other videos as well. They're all there. So your flight speed, again, this will increase as you speed up. I don't know why I stopped myself there, because I needed to show you my flight speed and everything. So as you can see, it's actually gone down ever so slightly, but we have got the increased degree a second and the power transfer rate of 236%, which is 11.8 per second, which isn't bad. But as you can see, the turn rate is not a bad thing, to be honest. You know, if you want something better, you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to go for something ever so slightly different. I can see the full impulse speed is still going up, and the turn rate, obviously you're gonna have as you're going faster, you're gonna have a wider turn rate, as you can see. But it's a pretty nice ship to handle, to be honest, and to be flying about in. So for console, for your console slots, tactical, I've just gone for 2 beam fire wheels, just because it has that lovely, well, it's actually one of them's level 2, the other one's level 1. I know why, I just need to sort them out. So one of them will be changed to tactical T. So you have your beam fire wheels, which will hit your multiple targets. I have a chemisite laced weaponry, which is do radiation damage, which is a form of exotic. And then you have your beam overload, as it says on tin, more powerful, plus 40 critical severity, plus 40 damage bonus. On the engineering, both of these value your shields. So multi-powered shields gives a 1801.7 shield regeneration for each facing, with a plus 20 shield power setting for 30 seconds. Repairs disabled shields, 18% shield resistance for 30 seconds, and 3000 temporary hit points. It's an all-round nice little console slot there. Quite a nice little ability. Reverse shield polarity, because obviously any weapon that comes along, it does heal your shields, and it's a pretty decent little one, and I would always recommend using it on most ships, unless you're very confident that your ship won't be losing its shields before you destroy the enemy, which, when it comes to a lot of, especially my tactical ships, it happens quite often. I don't need it on this, so I don't have it on there. So for science, obviously science slots, quite a few. Being a science vessel, only a level 1 tractor beam because you don't really need it that badly. The only time you need the tractor beam is when the Queen decides in the Borg PvEs to run away, because she's just that much of a pussy. Your hazard emitters I have here, which gives a 9024.6 hit points over 15 seconds, plus a 20.3 all damage resistance for 15 seconds. But it also continuously removes your damage over time, which is like your radiation burns. So transferred shield strength, which is a nice one. It gives you the following of 823.8 shield regeneration applied once to each facing, and a 228.8 shield regeneration for 15 seconds to each facing, which I don't know why they just don't put it on the one, because it's the exact same thing, but it goes over time, the second one. With a 16.4 shield resistance and 3000 temporary hit points. So it's all boosting your hull and your shields there. So feedback pulse, obviously, it reflects up to 16.77% incoming energy damage back to the target for 15 seconds with 50% shield penetration. Like I said, guys, earlier in the video, it's very early in the morning and my brain hasn't kicked in yet. So polarized the hull obviously will give you immunity to tractor beams and to teleport, which in a little science vessel like this, they don't have the strongest hull, so it's probably good to have that on there, just so you can get away if they do tractor beam you, if you do have issues of falling flat. Have an energy siphon on there, which does to target minus 15.2 on all power levels, and to self after 3 seconds, plus 15.2 all power levels for 15.2 seconds. So obviously you're taking what you're taking from them and adding it to your own. To affected target deals 3163 radiation damage with a 50% shield penetration. There's your exotic damage right there as well. So Science Team 3, we have the shield repair there of a science skill buff, and the science debuff cleanses. Targets friends and self of 3903.7 shield regeneration, applied once to each facing, removes science debuffs for 5 seconds and gives us 3000 temporary hull hit points. So overall it's not too bad. We also have a biomolecular shield generation there that will give you your enhanced shield regeneration and a 22% shield resistance. All of these are all your basic tactical ones, all around here. Obviously you've got your phasing maneuvers and intelligent fleet, which give the added bonuses there. But then on the last section, what I have on here is the extended secondary shields, which is what I mentioned earlier on before in the video. The red matter capacitor. You have your sensor analysis here. I also have a target shield subsystems, which is pretty decent online, obviously, because you're all about the shields. You can get the shields down quickly, you can do the damage better. I've got the subspace field modulator there, giving you all the shield capacitor, giving you the 420.9 shield regeneration, and the 15 shield power settings for 10 seconds. And then I also have a little satellite there, gives you a little bit extra firepower. But as far as that goes, that is everything I'm going to be showing you today on this. But like I said, it's not a hardcore PvP build. It's just something I like to use when, nice relaxed state. So that's it for the Intrepid. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you want to add anything to it, just let me know down in the comments, and that'd be absolutely fine. I'm always interested how to make this lovely girl stronger, because it just has such a special place in my heart. This ship, my first starship when I was 3 was the Intrepid class, was USS Voyager, and it's been my favourite ever since. So yeah, please leave any comments you'd like down in the bottom. And I will certainly, if there are improvements, I will certainly look into them. It's not a problem. Any questions, please also ask again. But thank you very much for everyone watching, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.